a living history production.
Hello and welcome to Peter Hart's Militaristic Podcast, and we're on our Gallipoli Special 2. Are you excited? I'm with Gary Bain, everyone's favourite. Are you excited, Gary?
No.
You weren't excited yesterday, are you?
Oh, no. So, well, I'm a bit more excited than yesterday and probably a little less excited than I'll be tomorrow. But I was really interested in what you were just saying about Matt McLachlan before we started, Pete.
What was that?
Well, you were just saying that he's, really a benefactor, a father figure to us.
He's like a father figure to me. It's just my unerring inability to look up his trouser leg. I've always wanted to look up his trouser leg.
Well, we all want to look up Matt McLachlan's trouser leg.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those...
Oh, sorry, Matt McLachlan.
Oh, dear. Oh.
Matt McLachlan's got very different legs.
It's long been an ambition of ours, hasn't it?
So what have we been doing today, Pete?
Oh, yeah, right. Well, we've been on what we call Anzac 1, second day of our tour. Yesterday we did Helles 1, which is the landings at Helles. And today we did Anzac 1, which is the landings at Anzac and the sort of early part of the campaign. And there's what we call Old Anzac. And it's always a favourite, isn't it? I mean, every touring group just loves it. How did we start? Well, it was a bit of a different start, wasn't it? Because they've got roadworks, and you cannot get across from one side of Anzac Cove to the other side of Anzac Cove, either by foot or by bus. So we separated, didn't we? And so we went. We separated the two sides, and we started at Beach Cemetery,
which is an absolutely beautiful cemetery, arguably one of the best in the world.
Do you know of a more beautiful one?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Oh, Ramparts in Ypres is pretty nice. Bedford House, that's lovely.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of taste.
It is a matter of taste.
The view is fantastic, and we spent some time there.
We did. We did our about the invasion there, didn't we? And we talked quite a bit about the landing plans, about the myths of Anzac, about they landed in the wrong place, that this, that, and the other. We just ran through it. We talked a bit about what went wrong in the landing. We talked a lot about how the Turkish opposition was resilient, that people thought they were running away. They wouldn't fight us with the bayonet. But what was happening was they were falling back and sniping. We talked a lot about that, and it was good. I enjoyed it. We also mentioned Chris Roberts' book about the first day of the landing, which is like a Bible to many of us, and I know Matt likes it as well, and I like it.
And we also mentioned Peter Doyle and Peter Chassot, and
that's right. Their book Grasping Gallipoli.
Yeah. We talked about the maps. It was really interesting because people seemed to be really interested in, well, why did they all get concertina? We had a long debate about the difference between points and degrees.
We did.
And the difference between metres and feet.
Oh, I missed that one, mate.
Did you not? It's an easy mistake to make, when you're talking about the height of a hill.
It could happen to anybody.
Yeah, happened to me though, didn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it did happen to you. Apparently there's this mountain. Hill 971 metres. Well,
I've never mentioned metres in my life, but there you go. First time for everything.
And our other favourite thing was we have with us a Colonel Duddles. And Colonel Duddles, we got to read that naval officers thing saying army officers can't read a map. And I could see you at the back of the classroom giggling and sniggering.
It was good. And we mentioned, of course, that there's some notable people in that cemetery. We talked about John Simpson Kirkpatrick, and a lot of people didn't realise what a short period of time he was arguably infamous for.
Famous.
I'm
going famous.
I apologise reservedly.
Whoa!
But we had a lot of talk about that, and somebody once commented while we were there about how handsome he was, because we passed the picture round, and I'd never thought of it like that.
No, I hadn't. I thought he was an ugly bugger. But he is one of my heroes. I accept that the myths are largely untrue, but whatever happened, he attracted attention from people at the time, and he did a good job rescuing people. The exaggerations do not mean that he wasn't a decent soldier.
And where did we go from there then? So we headed off.
Oh, well, then we went up McLaren's Ridge to McLachlan's Ridge. Do apologise. Yeah, it's as if I'd been drinking. I'll just have a little bit of...
Have another sip of that.
I'll just have a not drinking a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, so we went up to Pluggy's, didn't we? Went up to Pluggy's Plateau.
Which I found easier than before. It's as if I was young and fitter and more lithe.
Actually, no, I didn't find that bad at all. I mean, the steps are...
Pain in the arse.
Pain, yeah. I mean,
But you must stop rubbing your bottom up against things.
It's not an easy walk up because the steps make it more difficult. But, you know, there's cracking views out there. And you could actually see the work they were doing down at Anzac, and it is a significant amount of work.
Yes, I wish they wouldn't do it, but
no,
there you go.
And then we got up and we looked across to the Sphinx and...
right after we got we moved to the back of Pluggy's, and there we have that fantastic view, that just dramatic view of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And we love it, don't we? You know what the Australians were thinking of. They've been in Mina camp. They look across there, and there it is. It's just right, isn't it? It's just the right name.
It is, and again, you know, some people didn't realise that, and even to this day, soldiers give things names of what they see. So, you know, it does look like a Sphinx, and it does look like a bare arse.
No, it does not. That's not Bare Arse Hill. Bare Arse Hill, the one I know best, is in North Africa, but soldiers call a lot of things Bare Arse Hill. And why would it's a defining. But we'll draw a veil over Gary's bare arse. Although pictures can be supplied to private subscribers to our podcast.
Without the veil.
Now, so what's happening now? What happened then?
Well,
no, big changes, Gary.
Yeah.
Not on that suicidally dangerous journey off the back down that hill that's almost vertical. Instead, they've put in steps, haven't they?
Yeah.
Don't like steps myself, but actually that set of steps didn't annoy me. You have to get down. I've been down that ridge before the steps are in, and it was dangerous. The route we've been taking our punters for the last 10 years is dangerous. It's too steep. And I thought that was all right.
No, it was good in the sense that, you know, you get down quickly, but then you've got your choice. Where do you go from there? Because they've also put steps up
Russell's top.
Up to Russell's top. So you've got a choice there. So you can either, it's a very steep route up, I have to say. So you can either go up that way, or we chose to go a different way.
We did. We turned right. We went into Shrapnel Valley, and or it may be I've never quite known where it splits.
It was a valley.
It was a valley, and we turned up Brawns Hill, and that. There were parts of it where they put steps in. That was infuriating, and I really, really did not like that. But I did like the fact they've cleared about 2-yard things, so you can walk with a friend. Although
I walked with a dog.
Yes, I didn't actually see you during.
I was busy walking with the dog.
Well, you have a strange relationship with dogs.
He didn't fart at all, this dog.
Really?
No. Well, if he did, I didn't smell it.
And we walked up, and it's a quite steep hill, but it's I like it. It sort of goes up, and then flat, and then up, and then flat. And then we came to the point where you could overlook the join of Monash Valley and Shrapnel Valley. And we talked about two things there. We talked about bridges, General Bridges, Major General Bridges, Sir William Bridges, I think, who was killed there, ignoring people's advice in some ways. But he had that great epitaph, and we got Duddles to read that. At least I've had the honour to command an Australian division in action for 4 months or whatever it was, he said. And that was a strange thing to say. Not strange, but just quite touching, I thought. And then we talked about Simpson Kirkpatrick, and we did link it to James, who perhaps we'll invite onto it. James Thompson, what a man. And you stand in awe of him, don't you, in some ways, because he doesn't have breakfast.
He doesn't have breakfast,
and in that he has it in common with someone else, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you know, as is recorded, Simpson was called back to, you know, come and have your breakfast, cobber, and he said, "I'm just going to be back in a few minutes." Oh, we've just been interrupted by the lovely Paul Hildyard. Oh, he's now leaving us alone. He's now leaving us alone. He's now leaving us alone. He's not getting the hint at all, listeners.
And The great, I mean, we talked about James Thompson, and he never comes down for breakfast, does he? Never.
No.
And what has that in common with Simpson?
Well, Simpson was called back for his breakfast. And
well, he wasn't.
Arguably, he'd stopped.
Do you want your breakfast, Cobber?
Yes, please. And then he
That's
may
what
well have
you
survived.
would have said.
Then he may well have survived.
But he didn't say that, did he?
No, he didn't say
He
that.
carried on up the valley and put someone on his donkey and was killed.
And I think also the person who was with him was killed as well, wasn't he?
I think the person he'd rescued, yeah. We know, and when people carp at him, they say, they were badly injured, or he didn't save 350. Well, we know he didn't save 350.
Well, he probably didn't, but he
saved a fair number, possibly about 80. I think we worked out in our podcast on the subject. And yes, they were lightly wounded, but they had to get out without being wounded again.
We've had discussions about whether he should have been doing it in the first place or not. But frankly, Monash made a very moving epitaph for Simpson, and he's remembered to this day.
Yeah, it was a contemporary one. It's not something he did. So there you go. So what did we do after that? God.
Well, we carried on. We then went down to the 4th Division Cemetery, I think it was.
Oh, and Langham's Dump.
Yes.
And I was amazed. There was no interest whatsoever in the group. I'd probably point out it's 36 degrees centigrade.
And they are sophisticated.
And we told them about Rob Langham. We told them about his unfortunate circumstances. We explained the importance of Langham's Dump to Rob.
Yeah, some people did complain though that you gave more detail about that than you did about the actions that were taking place on the 25th of April.
Well, I of course apologise unreservedly if I in any way evaded the subject. But yeah, so we didn't actually see the scene of Langham's Dump.
But then that really steep climb, and it is a really steep climb.
And there's the original steps, aren't there? And how much do you hate those steps?
Oh, I don't like them at all.
And we have slightly different lengths. Obviously, you're taller than me,
yeah.
But you have incredibly short legs. And I've got long legs and
an incredibly short body.
Yeah. Do they suit you? The
your
steps
legs?
there? No, they would suit you. You'd be normal.
No, it's awful, and I'm amazed that I don't have to take a rest. But that is arguably the worst part of the morning.
Yep.
Coming out of that steps, coming up towards Johnson's Jolly. But once you're up there, what a surprise!
What a surprise! What was that? What was your reaction to it the first time? Because it was just all new, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Johnson's Jolly used to be a morass of bushes, and everything at Gallipoli sometimes seems to be spiky and hurty, doesn't it? Hurty. How mature am I? But this was. It's been cleared.
It's been cleared. I mean, we've mentioned, again in podcasts, we've mentioned the clearing that they're doing. Quadrilateral was the first 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. And we've mentioned that they've done Silt Spur last year in the neck. But this was such a surprise. And it's huge.
Yeah, what a big area.
It's huge. And you can clearly see the trench systems.
Australian lines?
Australian lines. Now, we'd always thought the Australians were the other side of that road.
Well,
but our guide, Bain, was insistent.
We'd really worked it out, but very late. I'm talking last year.
But they're clearly visible. And you've also got mine craters and tunnels.
That mine crater, how excited was I when I saw that mine crater?
You were very excited.
Like a small child.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't... How could it was over there. It was 20 yards away from a bit further. Sorry. It was 50 yards away from the road. I had no idea it was there because it had been buried for, 100 years, I think.
Well, and it had been buried as well as buried. But yeah, and it was great because, and we should have probably spent a little bit more time on that. But
there's so much to see.
There's so much of it there. And then we went across and did the usual demonstration of bayonet fighting in the trenches opposite.
What an absolute pleasure that is.
It is.
You often feature in that, don't you?
Well, I feature...
Would you like to describe your greatest moment during that?
My greatest moment, recorded by Jeff Harrison, was when I fell headfirst into the trench.
While doing what?
Whilst throwing the bombs.
So what do you think would have happened to you?
Oh, well, I'd have blown up, frankly.
But this time, You did it great, didn't you? You
Oh,
were
it's
fabulous.
fantastic.
And,
Mainly because I got somebody else to do it.
But it was quite funny because I was the officer directing things.
Yeah, it all went terribly wrong.
It
because
all went terrible
everybody-
because I didn't get the timing right of the charge. You throw the bombs into the next bay, and then the bayonet people rush round. But I forgot to tell them, so there was a sort of delay. But boy, oh boy, did Roger Chapman make up for that. You may not know Roger Chapman on this podcast, but he is a really important member of our team. What did Roger sound like as he charged? What went through your mind?
That I hadn't heard Des O'Connor for a long time.
Or would it have been sheer terror, the loud volume of the
He put his heart and soul into it.
And then what did he do?
Threw cones at you.
No, he bayoneted. No, that was someone else. So I did catch two. I dropped the other one. I'd have been dead as well. He bayoneted poor Bulent. And again, at that time we mentioned Bulent. What a great guide. Wasn't he fantastic today all the way through?
No. Yes, he arguably he is the best guide from our partners. Crowded House is who we work with when we're in Gallipoli, and he's a cracking asset to that company.
He's such a good sport. He
He
was
is.
bayoneted to death.
He taught us new words.
He
some,
did.
some of them we could
No,
repeat.
we can't mention it. He does teach us new words.
He taught us thank you.
Yeah, that's it. To sugar a drem.
Yeah, he taught us thank you.
And I'm not going to say that any of the others. Right. So what happened from that? Well, that was.
We it's the worst part actually. It's a walk up a road. So
I didn't go that way. If you remember, I darted
Oh,
off
you darted off into the trenches.
without, by the way, consulting or telling anybody.
No, you just did your own thing. So we walked up the road to Lone Pine. Where
Had
we
our lunches.
Had a very nice lunch.
Not
sitting
in the
shade.
cemetery, of course.
No, we sat in the shade in the trees, and then we went over to the cemetery, Lone Pine.
And we did the Lone Pine diversionary attack.
We did.
And that was a tale of utter horrors. 7 VCs. But it's a serious business, and we talked seriously about what they were doing, about the cover trenches, about going through, about coming back. We talked about Selden, the captain who lost his eye and was later found dead, which is a particularly emotional story. We talked a lot of things. Which quote did I give you to read?
You gave me the one about the gentleman who basically lost his teeth and spent the rest of the war, as far as I can tell, swearing.
Yes. Apparently, in between the time he was wounded at Lone Pine and when he got to the beach, he hadn't exhausted his vocabulary.
He must have had a very large vocabulary.
He must have had a very large vocabulary.
But some of our party commented on the small area that was.
It's a football pitch at most.
And how you could have up to 1,000 men. Now we don't think there was 1,000 men fighting there. There was probably around 500, but in a size of a football pitch.
I just said there was a bit more. There was a brigade fighting, but yeah, there's. I see what you mean. There was 500 men in a battalion. Yeah, that's right. And there's 3 battalions or 4 battalions, but one would be in reserve. Yeah, and the fighting was intense. It was so intense. It's very exciting. Was it a successful diversion? Do you think? Did it suck in the local resources?
No, and I think you made the point, didn't you, that the Turkish forces that it was meant
Under Canongeiser
to suck in.
And where were they based?
They were based where we are, at the Cum Hotel.
Wow, what a place to stay.
Yeah.
Always a welcome at the Cum Hotel, I would have said.
Yeah, just don't leave too soon.
Right.
But yes, they were based in this area, and they weren't fooled at all, because which forces was it that met the New Zealand forces? The sound you can hear, dear listeners, is Peter bashing his head on a table.
Right. What did Matt say about not needing editing?
He'll never listen this long.
That's true, it's true. So,
We're talking about Canongeiser and what he actually ended up doing. He didn't get sucked into the fighting at Lone Pine.
So the
at all.
local people did, but Canongeiser marches right the way through, and he's the one who meets the New Zealanders at the top of Chinook Bay. And that's a telling story, I think. And then from there, we go... Oh.
We went down to Silkspur, which, I know you and Matt were particularly impressed with what you saw last year.
My hands are trembling.
But, they put signs in, which, well, actually it helps you, but we had the great map. Great map.
From the battalion who built it, which I've
10th?
forgotten, 10th or 11th.
No, it's the 10th. And you can, unusually, you can stand in a feature that's, 105 years ago, and you can spot, without a shadow of a doubt, exactly where you are standing on the battlefield.
It's amazing. It's funny because there's no fighting there particularly. There's sniping.
No, but you've got the sniper's post and the black hand area down at the front.
That was great.
And
the machine gun post down there as well.
And it's just a joy. Now, I think, correctly, they've let the roots there.
Stay, yeah.
I think that, they'll let it overgrow a little bit again.
I'd perhaps do it in 50 years' time, whatever.
And I think that will maintain those trenches. And if anybody is visiting, if you go nowhere else, you go to Silkspur.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I've been about 5 times now, and I'm still like a child.
Have you been anywhere else?
No, never. My life has been unlimited. So from there, we go on the bus, and we go round to Quins.
Yeah, we went to Quins.
And Quins Post, well, it's a tradition. We read quotes from William Malone. Why do I like the New Zealander, William Malone?
He had a rather low opinion of the Australians.
And that has caused a massive amount of amusement on our trips. Normally we let a good friend of ours, Australian, Bernard de Broglio, who is a wonderful aviation and many other things historian. And we normally make him read it, don't we?
Yeah,
he
enjoys that.
He does, especially the bit where he says, actually, when it comes to it, I don't like Australians at all.
No. But normally there, what we would do is we would go down the little hedged off area at the front, and we would look across towards
Dead Man's Ridge.
And we would talk about the actions and I can't remember the name.
Thomas Baker's recording from the Chatter Battalion.
But this time, we were able to go up to Pope's.
Well, we
play the recording on Dead Man's Ridge on the way. So we were standing exactly.
And you could see it was, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And I urge you to listen to this recording. It's on the Imperial War Museum, so you could listen. And there it was it? The ridge, everything. And when he that was great, was it? First time ever.
First time ever. And we took the party up onto Pope's. And looked across from Pope's.
This was Duddles and a couple of others. Paul Hildyard had gone ahead.
Yeah.
While the others were visiting. I should pay. The Bulent took them to visit the 57th Memorial to pay proper respect to that fantastic fighting force. We didn't do that because we had this new thing to explore, which was, it's not disrespectful, it's just we had...
We've been before and we will go again.
We will go again and we'll pay our respects always to that. But we were very excited to go across there. And when they'd explored the way, we didn't have much time, myself and Gary, but they explored it for us. And they did a fantastic job and said they took us, there's a path there, and you get onto Pope's Hill. Pope's Hill where is it Harry Black? All these heroes from, I think it's 16th Battalion. I've gone a bit vague now because I've been drinking. But it was awesome, and just to be there, you could see the trenches on the one side. You could look across.
Now, looking across, you can't see exactly where things are, but you can see where they were, and you can't work out exactly what Quins Post looked like. But it was such a different view of it.
It was absolutely, and I've never been on Pope's, and not many English historians have been on Pope's because it's only just been cleared. It was
incredible.
I mean, Bulent told us that he'd been on it before with Peter Jackson. That's right, because Bulent was Peter Jackson's guide.
Yeah, he just likes name dropping.
He does.
He tells Peter Jackson all about Peter Hart.
Is he?
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson says,
"Who?" But I mean, so we come off of there, and then you're back to the, if you pardon the expression, the normal tour.
Yeah,
in that we go down from there. We went down to the neck.
Yeah, and then just a little special where the oh God, my name memory. The Turkish people had showed me where the crater was. That was fantastic. Yeah. Then they had.
Oh, the water tanks.
The water tanks, with quotes from my books from. I was well impressed, and we had a ceremony where Roger unveiled his dirty handkerchief, which he said was clean, but seemed to have some unfortunate stains on. Would you like to comment on the unfortunate stains?
I think it's something to do with his yoga.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird. But yes, you're right. And to save your blushes, I've taken the photograph that Dudley posted on Twitter.
Did he?
And we will be using it in various ways.
All right.
But yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it?
The crater that's near is great. And I remember when I was first showing it, it's a name like Gugsack. It's appalling when I don't remember names, and it's one of my worst.
Jeff Harrison will correct us anyway.
Yeah, one of my worst features. He will correct us because he did last time. But that guy showed me this crater, which I walked across and never seen, and he showed us where it was. And then we went and looked at the cemetery, paid our respects in the cemetery of all those poor lads who were killed. How many graves were there in there? There's about 3. There's a lot in there, but how many actual gravestones are there? About 3. There's not many, is there?
Not a lot.
And then we went on to look at the neck trenches from which they made the attack. And we had a long discussion there. I'm not sure people enjoy it, but it's all about command and control, about responsibility, about whether you go over the top of the...
Well, we talked about courage. So you made the point about physical courage, and then we got on to Geddes.
Geddes, who was in the very first landings as a captain, and by this time he's a colonel, lieutenant colonel, commanding his battalion.
Now he, I think, refused to take his men forward in what he saw a fruitless operation.
At the diversionary attacks on
which I think is a moral courage. Now Dudley, you know, he's a colonel. I understand his position, but his position is...
No, he admired it as well, but he didn't quite go quite as far as we did he?
No, but I think that was as courageous as the physical courage that was being shown.
Well, the chap who went over the top with the first line, but that meant he wasn't there to stop the other lines. But I'm not knocking him either, because what a decision to make. And
you can't lead if you're dead. Yeah, that's the bottom line.
But still, he did go over the top with his lads. He did give up his life. He made a mistake. In my view,
and he's very brave.
He's very brave. He made a mistake, possibly.
But very brave.
But very, very brave. I think his name's George White, but I'm not sure. But to be honest, this is a...
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
This is a rough podcast in the sense of that we're not got any notes at all.
We're doing this straight after we come off the battlefield, Pete.
In fact, you can hear people walking past and insulting us.
Yes. But you then said we didn't have enough time to go down and look at the Turkish position. So some of us went up to...
Not the Turkish position, Turk's Head.
Turk's Head, I do apologise.
Unreservedly?
No. No, on this occasion, because some of us went down to the coach and...
you went down to Walker's Ridge Cemetery and the unbelievable view over Mount Mule Gully.
And some of us didn't, Pete, did we?
Well, what happened to me was, and this is a bad thing, but it happens, and I just drifted off to the right whilst taking people through. And then I saw the sign for Turk's Point, and I thought, I wouldn't have liked to go to Turk's Point, I thought. And this...
I'd have liked to have gone to Turk's Point.
I bet you would, mate. And I feel very guilty. Because
How guilty do you feel?
I feel...
What are you feeling at this precise moment?
A sort of strange mixture of emotions, which are surging round me.
Yeah.
Like
we'll draw a veil over that. But you took half the party down.
It was stupid of me, and it's worth it. If any guides listen to this, if you're doing something, make sure everyone knows what you're doing, and particularly if you take with you the other guide who knows exactly where you are blent. So this is just shocking incompetence on my part. But luckily, no one mentioned it at all.
No, I think James came and got you, didn't he?
No, I'd already come out by there, but he did threaten me with violence if I did it again.
Now.
And you have never ceased to respond.
Well, I tried to ring you, but you'd put your phone on divert or block me or something.
Well, I blocked you, yes.
Yeah. But we then looked at, we spent a brief time in Walker's Ridge Cemetery, for those that hadn't done so.
And you saw the grave of the man. Can you remember what the inscription was? Because no one could forget that.
No. I was busy trying to keep people...
Goodbye, God bless, is I think what it is. But again, teacher, I didn't see this because for some reason I wasn't there.
No. So then
can we talk about the view over Mule Gully?
Yeah, this is quite interesting. So we're being interrupted again.
That's by Ramazan, who runs Crowded House Tours.
No, we gave a demonstration of the firm foundations of the barrier that had been installed, which, if it was a tooth, would be extracted.
I have to say, I tested it out first, and then I invited Gary to charge towards it to test its braking strain. This is above
It had the braking strain of a Kit Kat.
100-foot drop, I would have estimated. And what I loved about it was he refused. He, for some reason, didn't trust me. But then he pointed out that they'd added a small sliver of wood as some sort of block inside the thing. You probably can't see what we're on about. But, ladies and gentlemen, we love the Turks. We love everything about them. But never trust them when it comes to health and safety.
No. But then, steps again. We then proceeded to come down the steps at Russell's top.
Well, we had a few comments to make about, I think you weren't with me then, because
No.
for some reason you weren't speaking to me after a certain incident about
No,
Turks.
I think simply I'd gone on ahead.
Probably, because you are so virile and fast-moving.
No, I was a bit worried about whether or not I'd get the vertigo again, but... Yeah.
Anyway, we looked to the right and we saw Walker's Ridge. And what did it look like? Because that's not it's not real, because you actually walk down the other side of Walker's Ridge. But as you go down Russell's Top, you get the perception of the left-hand side of Walker's Ridge. And it looks... I looked at it, I thought, I'm never doing that again. Then I remembered you're on the other side. Yeah. It just looked dreadful.
No, that was interesting.
Have you ever been down Walker's Ridge, old mate?
Oh, no.
What was that?
I had vertigo and I was very unwell. So we come down the steps. Again, it's an easy walk down. There's
I think
just
the
a lot of
steps
steps.
may have marginally helped, but the construction of the steps in themselves, the steps are trip hazards.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Well, I certainly, because I had walking sticks, so I was trying to think, where do you put the sticks, where do you put your feet? In the end, I just carried the sticks because it was easier to walk down the steps. But when we got to the bottom, we got to Shrapnel Valley. Visited the cemetery very, very briefly.
Yeah, we walked out the way we got. Now, this time we didn't go up Brawns Hill. And one person said, "We going up Brawns Hill again?" And we made the joke about the army.
The army would, yeah.
The army said, "Are you complaining? Right, round again."
You're first. Yeah. And then we came out and on the coach.
We saw the Shrapnel Valley Cemetery, beautiful cemetery, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, that's in the top 10.
Yeah. But again, it's all about perception. I think there are many, many, many Commonwealth War Graves Commission cemeteries around the world that take your breath away.
Yeah, and the workers are the key.
Yeah,
obviously the British government, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, pay for it, but the hard work and dedication, and you see them, and they're not sitting around having a tab, are they? They're
Alex took a photo of a couple while we were at Beach Cemetery.
Yeah, I was surprised she asked them to take their shirts off first.
Oh, she always does.
Yeah. Is it something to do with the podcast?
Well, I don't know what she did. She said something to do with her private collection.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've all got private collections. Mine's of books. Books on military history. What's yours?
All of your books.
All of Richard Van Emden's books.
No, yours are kept in a special place.
Yes, your latrine. Anyway, we've had a great time. We've enjoyed making this podcast. I don't know whether this is the sort of thing that people want to listen to, but for us, it's a way of telling people about how great Gallipoli is.
Yeah.
And whether you go with Matt McLachlan about Matt McLachlan Battlefield Tours, or Peter Hart Battlefield Tours, or Ledger, or any other touring, I actually mean that. I don't care who you come to Gallipoli. What do you say?
I think we're having a fantastic time, but we're also being well looked after. Everything is being done as safely as can be done under the current circumstances, and we have to recognise that. But it hasn't detracted from it. You have to wear a mask sometimes.
Well, when you're in when you go into the restaurant to get food.
Yeah, but at public places, so for example, when we went to the Turkish Memorial, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah,
fair
enough.
Absolutely. All right, Pete, I'm off to get another beer.
Oh, I haven't finished mine yet.
Cheers, Pete.
Oh. Cheers, lads. Bye.